Hey Colin, how you getting on?
Good, seeing yourself.
Not too bad at all. It's midweek.
That is indeed, absolutely. It's hump day. You're over.
Yes.
We're on the home stretch. Hey, John.
Hey,
Again,
Ron.
Hello again. Yeah.
like I only just got off a call with you.
Just slightly. Yeah. I feel like I've been on calls all day and I haven't actually, so it's a bit of a weird one. I think we have a good couple of people joining though. And I'm just going to.
Yeah. I'm going to have a quick look.
Let's hope Romy is signed up. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Romy, how are you? You're on mute, by the way. And now frozen. This could be interesting. Romy, you froze there for a minute, but you're on mute.
I had some issues with my sound, but I think I'm back now.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we have maybe one or two more people joining.
Cool.
So it's probably around 9 or 10 people. I'm going to do a quick introduction when everyone's signed off, and then I'll give you the floor, if that's okay.
Super.
Okay. So we'll just give it 1 or 2 more minutes. How's your week been so far, Romy?
Yeah, good, good. The weather is lovely today, which I'm definitely enjoying.
I know. I'm actually in Meath, so the weather's not that nice down here. So I don't know what's going on.
It's not raining. If it's not raining, it's good.
That's true. And to be fair, we had a really long spell, so yeah, I'm not going to give out. Just following up with a few people.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll kick off. Okay, so for everybody who's here, thank you so much for joining. I would like to introduce you to Romy, who is over on my right-hand side. And Romy is an entrepreneur who has recently just set up a company called, what is the name of the actual company, Romy?
Letkit.
Letkit,
Yeah.
and produced an app called Quorum.chat. And it's essentially a text messaging app set up something like WhatsApp, but playing towards the vulnerabilities that are already in WhatsApp for building communities, which are a lack of privacy. So when you join a WhatsApp community, you're identifiable as yourself and not being able to take payments. So being the entrepreneurial mindset that she is, Romy has come up with, along with her business partner, with an interesting solution that is in beta at the moment with some interesting use cases on how you can use this app to build better communities, whether it's from a coaching perspective with your coaching clients, or a teacher with your students, or whether you're a podcaster and you just want to build up a different, or an influencer and you want to build up your community. So we met, I think, last week, and I thought it might be interesting for some people in this community to be interested in. So Romy, I'll give you the floor, if that's okay, and you can take it from here.
Yeah, thanks a million, Joanne. So I might share my screen. I have a little presentation. Cool. And yeah, just I guess a little bit of background on me. I graduated from mechanical engineering in UCD in 2017. I worked at Arista Cuisine de France in their manufacturing plant there, which is very, very different to software development. But in May of last year, we, myself and a very good friend of mine who's a software engineer at Intercom and a colleague of his, we decided to apply to this accelerator program in San Francisco. It's actually the same one that Airbnb and Stripe went through, and we decided to apply and we got in, which was amazing. So we had this amazing experience in California last summer, and we went through, gonna be a bit of a journey to get here, but we've ended up here with Quorum. We've gotten a lot of funding now, which we're very excited about to kind of keep building for the future. And I guess I just wanted to, today I kind of wanted to go through kind of the background, like how we think Quorum could be helpful, how it could be helpful for you, and like what it's solving, and what kind of opportunity it'll provide. I want to do a little demo, and then I can take some questions and feedback. I'd really love to hear how you guys think it could integrate into your workflows. So there are a number of use cases. As John mentioned, it's a chat platform just like WhatsApp, but with additional functionality, which we think is very helpful for people like coaches. So it's the coaching use case that I've really focused in on in this presentation, but of course it can be used for a variety of different things. Right now, as a coach, you have two main ways to connect with clients. Your first way is very much one-on-one, and your second way is kind of more broadcast. So one-on-one, your one-on-one communications, obviously the major coaching medium is through face-to-face meetings, but you also have calls, you've got emails, and you've got more now more than ever in this kind of in these COVID times, you've got Zoom calls as well. And then when it comes to the more broadcast method, you have the likes of Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. People have created Facebook groups where they can contact a lot of people. They put up YouTube videos giving advice. Now that's kind of used more as a kind of a lead gen, but it also is a way that you can affect and you can help other people. So to be honest, neither is perfect. One-on-one coaching is very good because it can provide very personalized advice, and it's certainly the way most coaching is provided, but the limitations are that it takes up a lot of time. It really limits the number of people that you as a coach can reach. It's expensive, both for you time-wise and for the client. Not a lot of people can afford it. It doesn't suit every potential client. Not everybody needs an hour-long session. Some people just need a kind of a lighter touch method, and clients don't get the benefit of a shared community or shared support. They don't feel like a lot of people are going through this, or these are problems that a lot of people have. In terms of the broadcast method, you can only provide generic advice, really. It's very difficult to charge directly for, unless you do some kind of a webinar. A YouTube video you can post, but it's going to be very difficult for you to attribute like direct revenue to that. It's public by default. In coaching, a lot of things need to be private. It's important for things to be private because that's the kind of thing that you're dealing with. But on platforms such as Facebook, it's just public. And there's very little direct interaction. So even if you get some comments on your post or on your video, they're just very little of that. That's not what it's built for. So that's where we fit in with Quorum. So Quorum lets you coach your clients through chat. You can create small groups of like-minded clients who can support each other, hold each other accountable. And it's a lighter touch service while retaining core coaching values. Now, why is chat the right platform? Well, for one, it's real time. You can offer like an on-demand service, which isn't something that you would have been able to provide before. It's personal. This is me chatting to you by text. It's familiar. Everybody uses it, and it's very popular. In fact, during COVID, WhatsApp usage has increased by 40%. But then why can't I just use WhatsApp? Well, WhatsApp isn't private, and nor is it GDPR compliant. It can't be monetized. Collecting money on WhatsApp is an absolute pain. I'm not sure if you've ever tried it, but you say that someone owes you money and then you have to go through whatever other service that you need to use. It's very hard to control. There are no moderation features. You can't see who's engaging. It's very difficult to see who's read your message. And also, this is kind of an interesting one, but WhatsApp is for your friends and family. It feels a bit weird when you've got coaching or your business related stuff on your WhatsApp. That's not what it's built for, and that's not what they're building it for. So now I'd like to go through just a little demo of how it works. Now I'm going to have to see if I can share my other screen. Here we go. So this is what the app looks like. You have a list of chats. I've just done up some sample chats for you. Right here, you've got a sample of what could be a leadership group. So what people have done and what the coaches using the app do is that they have maybe weekly goals. For example, this weekly goal and the weekly topic here is inclusive leadership. They set out some tasks, they provide some links, they provide some messages. And then people can interact in the group. And you see here their private name. So when people are in the group, they're just Mary. They're not their full name. They can hide their identity, which is very important when you're discussing kind of more personal topics, particularly in the realm of coaching and workplace coaching. It's very important that those conversations are kept private. And then for an example of like one-on-one coaching, here Paul, the coach, he knows exactly who it is that's speaking to him. You can have more personalized advice, and again, it's on demand. Now, you can set times that your chat can be on for. If it's between, here Paul is saying that it's going to be between 3 and 5 p.m, but it's more urgent, let them know. And Dom always feels like he's got someone on the other end of the phone in case he has major issues. If you want to create another group, that's really quite simple. You can create a group, add a picture, a name, a description. You can charge a subscription and change the color. It's completely personalized to you. And then you can add people using a quick link. And from your user's perspective, they just click join. They can type in the code to a group. I just had a sample group here. There's a paid group, and if the group is paid, they can click subscribe, add their payment details, and all the payments are processed by Stripe, so we don't actually touch any of that. And then that money will go directly to you at the end of the month, and it's collected on a monthly basis. They can add their payment info here, and you have direct chat with us all of the time. That's the benefit, I think, of being a small startup. We are always on call. And to go back to the main presentation. There you go. So yeah, I went through the coaching use case, but there's a lot of other interesting use cases and people that we have using the app, such as kind of professional networking groups where that privacy and the payment is important. We have groups with podcasters and their fans or influencers so they can directly monetize. We have people doing teaching courses either through Quorum or as an additional resource to a course being run through YouTube or another platform. We've got trainers, and we've got all sorts of communities. So that was me. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, or any feedback at all.
Thank you so much, Romy. And we are just starting up a pitching hour in our community, and I think this is an excellent pitch. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got through most of this stuff. I want to open it up to the floor if anybody has any pressing questions to start off with.
Maybe I'll throw one out. First of all, hello, Romy.
Hi.
David Kennedy here, your neighbour.
Oh, David, hi, how are you?
I was going to say I recognise the room behind you. It looks really interesting, and I can already think of several other use cases for it. In a previous software company I worked in, we used things like HipChat for just general conversations among disparate technical groups. And I could see, for example, with this, I could see something like if you had a software rollout across multiple locations and you wanted to sort of create a user support group around different topics, it'd be really useful. And it is the sort of ongoing, almost informal interaction that users would really like, particularly where you've got something across multiple locations. And even things like with remote working, gig economy, outsource model, where you get all that sort of cultural leakage, where you've got separate locations, and it can be very hard to sort of manage. I think something like this that could be quite sort of organic and iterative would be really useful. Can you do things like sort of maintain training records or any sort of admin type functions in it?
Yeah, so we're thinking about different admin functions. I think next on our list is kind of just analytics. So who's engaging, who's opening the chat, who's seen things, who's responded. But definitely stuff like training records is something that we could add in. We hope to have like an admin dashboard with customizable widgets, if you like. Yeah,
because I think some kind of data capture fields would be brilliant. And again, I'm thinking of if you had a software rollout across multiple locations and you had multiple user groups, so we're logging issues. I think that would give a lot of really interesting data in terms of user experience and things like that. Yeah, but no, it looks great. I mean, it looks and feels very organic, which I like. These things I think are always better when they're got that organic feel to it, as opposed to a big structured platform.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, great job.
Michelle, I'd love to ask a question. I'm a coach, so thank you. I'm your perfect audience for that. I must say, though, I found the sort of the moving from the face-to-face interaction to then to Zoom. Zoom hasn't given as high touch quality. And I'm just wondering, from any UAT that you've done, what, if any, feedback have you had from the coaches in terms of and coaches in terms of their experience of the platform?
Yeah, well, I think what's kind of interesting is that the coaches that we have at the moment, their specific use cases is that they'll have a client for maybe like 2 or 3 sessions, and this was pre-COVID, so it was face-to-face, and it's more for them to be able to keep in touch and then be on demand. So at the start, they need that like very like high touch one-on-one for the coach to understand what's going on, to understand them, to develop that rapport. But it's after that, how do I keep in touch with my clients, and how do I keep supporting my clients, but in a way that they no longer need that high touch kind of face-to-face interaction, and what they only need is, okay, can I call Romy when something's going on, or can I just like send her a message? I'm not really sure how to deal with this, or I need a little bit more support, or I need to be held a little bit more accountable. And that's, now it's still early days. They've only been using it for a little while, so there hasn't been that much feedback in terms of like how they're finding it's improving the session. But certainly from a coach's point of view, they're really happy that they can continue to support their clients, and in a way that's just a bit more affordable for the client.
I can see that totally working. Yeah, with that context, it's a brilliant tool, and I could definitely see how that would work, just for the way you might want to just check in quickly after the session. So great, thank you.
Michelle, one of the things we discussed, myself and Romy, last week was the ability to leave voice notes rather than text messages, from a coaching perspective, that you can put some, intonation into the intent.
Yes.
Would you see a use for that one?
Definitely.
Yeah,
because yourself, sometimes you can get WhatsApp messages or emails, and you can't, without the tone, it's very hard to gauge exactly what it is somebody's saying on the other side. So I think that would be very beneficial. And
also from a coaching perspective, you could go and take a walk and leave voice notes from your clients, right? So you could be more productive. I'm thinking, rather than sitting at desktop typing all the time, or, typing on your phone. So it gives you that sense of freedom, maybe.
Yeah.
To conduct your business from anywhere.
That's why I think something like the outsource model, where you can end up having a situation where 3/4 of your resources are through an outsourced partner, and you might be quite integrated in terms of how you operate, but still I think having that sort of communications medium could be helpful in terms of just having them a little bit closer.
Yeah, and from that UAT community you were talking about, David, or even a user community, I think as the ability, if the platform continues to grow and you have user communities that are based on this, I think it would be really interesting to use a little bit of artificial intelligence to spot the influencers in your groups, rather than just allow the chat. So when you're looking at that analytics platform, maybe look into a little bit of influencer spotting. So you can
no, for sure. I think that's really interesting. Be able to reach out to people who aren't interacting, particularly I think the people who open the chat, read everything but never respond. I think they're a very interesting person, because well, like, how can I reach out to them directly? They're obviously they want to be engaged, they're opening the app, but something's not working there, that they're not actually posting back. So I think that's kind of interesting to be able to go back in and say, listen, how can I help? Or is it that case that you don't want to post in a group? Then how can I provide you with a different service?
Yeah, 100%. And I think people who come and observe, I still think they're getting use out of the community. I mean, we would have a lot of those in our Slack channels, people who are not actually actively engaging every day, but are still gaining a lot of insight just by watching the chat, but just don't want to jump in with 2 feet right now. And so I still think there's value in being part of the community, even if you're not.
For sure, yeah.
Any other use cases that people would spot along the way for a tool like this?
I'm just curious, what's the kind of largest group that's been used to date? Like, do people, we say in coaching, you sometimes don't want to have 50 people. You may want 5 to 10 kind of people that can support each other from different backgrounds. But I'm just curious to see what sort of numbers you would have.
We've actually limited it at 10 per group. We just for the time being, because we don't want to go there. There are a few people who really want to use this for larger groups, but I just think that the value would get a little bit lost, and then
more broadcast, isn't it? Then
exactly. And then also we want to just keep the group smaller for being able to test, so we can talk to as many people who are using it, rather when the group gets too big, that becomes a bit more difficult for us.
Okay.
Is there a use case, Romy, around sort of academia in terms of distance learning, sort of distance project groups, things like that?
Yeah, that's something we're super interested in. Like I'm doing a course by WhatsApp at the moment, and they're just, sending me different links and information every day. And I think in a group setting, that's really interesting. That's really interesting too. Or like things like, people who are teaching grinds or that kind of thing, like special tutors. That's also super interesting use case for us.
Yeah, 100%. I think keeping students engaged in a remote learning environment is definitely a super use case. I'm curious, Leon, you're on the call, and you have a particular piece of expertise around UX design and the UI.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit about moderation, and have you yet had a use case where you've implemented moderation? And if you did, how was your experience of that?
Yeah, so we haven't implemented moderation just yet. There is one user who wants to she wants to implement moderation in her group. Now we have an API. We're using an API for the chat, so they give us those moderation services. And what she's done, or what idea that we have for her, which is what we're going to do, is that she's going to have the chat on for a certain period of time. So between, say, the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. every day, the chat's on and anyone can post, and then the moderation isn't there to allow the real-time flow, but any post outside of that 2-hour block has to be approved by her before it comes onto the platform.
How many what's the number of users expected during the offline period? Do you
Not quite sure, to be honest, yet. We're still very early days for that, but I would expect less. But she's just worried about people posting and things that might be inappropriate or.
Yeah, we should have a chat afterwards about this at some stage, because I've built iterations of my own platforms for live events, and there's a lot of moderation behind it. I'd love to have a chat to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now, Romy, I know this session is being recorded, so we're going to share it with the community, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no problem.
We do have a number of other coaches who are particularly interested. If people want to follow up with you, or how would they get in touch?
Yeah, you can send me an email, Romy, ROMY at Monaru, MONARU.io. Sorry, I realize now that's another company name, but that's fine. I'll type it into the chat.
Entrepreneurial life.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'd love to get anyone on board and beta testing. It's on Android and iOS, so every platform.
Excellent. And Patrick, you're on the call as well. You're a co-founder.
How you doing, guys? Sorry, I'm lurking here. My name's Patrick. I'm on the team with Romy.
Nice to meet you. How have you found this whole experience?
It's been interesting. Yeah, it's been a bit of a ride. So myself and Romy were kind of best friends from college, and then I previously worked in Intercom. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's
oh yeah, we have it on our website.
Oh, very good. Okay, yeah. So I worked on the sales use case. So like trying to get visitors to your website to buy your product. So yeah. I built those teams, and then since last May, myself and Romy and our third co-founder David have been kind of working together. We've tried a number of different products. So this is kind of our third or fourth product, but it's been a bit of a hopefully upward climb. With a few dead ends along the way, but it's actually my dad is he's a psychotherapist and a coach as well. So I find this use case, we didn't quite realize this was going to be such an interesting one, but I find it very, very interesting. It's quite close to home.
it's funny how the flow of a river finds its own bed at the end of the day, you know. So what was the use case when you first started it up? What did you have in mind?
So we first heard about these paid WhatsApp groups. So a friend of mine told me that he was trying to Venmo someone money to get into a WhatsApp group, but he couldn't get Venmo because he is in Dublin, and for Venmo you need an American credit card. So that sounded strange to me, and my kind of entrepreneurial senses were tingling there a little bit, that there seemed like an opportunity there. And then we started digging, and it was these kind of paid learning groups was the first use case that we came across. But then I think in general, what we realized was that there's actually a huge number of these niche use cases. And the thing that connects them all is the fact that there's an asymmetric relationship between participants. So if you look at WhatsApp, everyone roughly has the same relationship. You know, it's a friend group, you're all roughly the same kind of friendliness with every person in the group. Whereas the groups that we're targeting are groups where there's a very strong asymmetrical relationship. So there's one person who's in charge, they run the group, and then everyone else is a participant. And so when you think about it in those terms, it becomes kind of clear that WhatsApp with a single UI for both participant types doesn't really work anymore. And any of the platforms, even when you look at Slack, the actual Slack interface, while there are admin features, the interface itself still is generic across those two user groups. And so so when we think about use cases, that's kind of the thing that we try to use to link all these use cases together.
Yeah, and as much as having a new app on your phone used to be a point of friction because people do new apps, I think now people actually like the separation.
Yeah,
It's
particularly
funny,
I think the Facebook connection to WhatsApp, that's really starting. It's really starting to put people off. And also I think lack of transparency on how the likes of WhatsApp is making money. It's like at some stage you're going to have to start making money, and where is that going to happen? Where with us, like, sorry, I don't know if I mentioned that, but in the future, we're not charging now for our beta users, but we'll just take a percentage of the revenue that you're making. So we'll have a freemium model, and once you start making revenue on the platform, we'll take a small percentage of that. And I think people, particularly creators, and kind of more freelance people, they appreciate that, because it's like, okay, well, we're being completely transparent. Whereas Facebook, I mean, who knows what they're doing with your WhatsApp information, really.
Yeah, so it would be more like a Patreon kind of model for people who want to subscribe to a particular user group, or for a coaching option, it could be you can join group coaching at a much lower discount, or a much higher discount, much lower cost to one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, sorry.
I was just wondering, it's just a friend of mine is actually on this as well, Suzanne. She's a stylist, and I was wondering, you can post pictures and stuff as well, you know? So then, that's, I just wanted to double check that.
Cool.
Oh, that's an interesting use case.
Yeah. I mean, long term, the kind of vision for the chat itself is that it becomes similar to Slack, and that we want to produce a platform, so that if you're running a sports team, we can create a widget where you can select the team for Saturday. And I think the interesting there is, because we're private by default, and only the admin has access to the user information, there's a much higher degree of trust there. And so, for example, if Facebook was to pitch you that type of a widget platform, you'd be suspicious. Whereas if it's much more transparent as to what data is being shared, we're kind of confident that for these use cases as well, when it's not necessarily like personal chats, it's actually like a use case specific chat that people will be more comfortable sharing.
I do wonder, will a use case evolve somewhere between that age group that's very vulnerable, that has phones right now, but you don't want to share your identity? So that 13 to kind of 18-year-old, is there a use case for, I don't know, their lecturers to interact with them in a very safe way, that they're not sharing each other's information or phone numbers?
Well, actually, my brother is, well, he was supposed to do his Leaving Cert this year, and so he's kind of one of the COVID Leaving Cert crew. But he was telling me that his teachers, a lot of them tried to have WhatsApp groups with the students for stuff like kind of after school activities, or even some classes, and it's all like against it's against GDPR, it's against child protection. Like there's all these rules because of personally identifiable information being shared. There's no oversight. So while they want to go to chat, because chat has now become the kind of default way a lot of these groups communicate, the platforms themselves that are built for consumers just don't fit these more restricted use cases. So long term, I think for us, like long term, the long tail, so all those kind of chats that could live on WhatsApp, but at the moment probably would fit better on, you know, I think to get to those, we need to have quite a stable platform, and a lot of people using it. But
yeah, I think it'd be great to integrate with Revolut as well.
Yeah.
Share bills wherever you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So
guys.
any more questions for the group?
I've just 2 questions, if that's possible. The first one is in a group, because I'm thinking of the team use in the future as well, because I think there's a huge opportunity with the GAA.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Everything that's happening at the moment, particularly with COVID and all that. Could a team have multiple admins, or does it have to be one admin?
Yeah, for the time being, it's just one, but we could definitely make it more than one. What exactly would you want to do with more than one admin? Would it be adding people, or would it be?
Yeah, primarily adding people.
So you see, we can actually, anyone can share the link for the time being. So it's just a 3-word code, 3 4-letter words. That's easy to remember. So that's probably, but we could probably, Patrick, we could add in.
Yeah, and as just on that 3-word code, we're probably going to add a toggle so that the admin can have a final kind of say before anyone joins, so that, you know, if someone has the link, that there's still this final layer. But yeah, in terms of like adding admins, it's really just a switch in the database. It's not, it wouldn't be tricky at all. In that sense. And I mean, long term, we're hoping for roles as well. So there'll be an admin, and then you can probably add moderators who can do certain things, but not others, and kind of use permission.
The second question is it planned, or is it any? So, for example, going from the chat to actually a call or a video call, is it planned to interact on that side, or do you have to leave the ecosystem to go to that call or chat?
Probably a bit further along the line. The API we are using for chat, it is possible, but and I think until we get a very clear use case, we won't build it.
I think the general kind of principle there is, unless we can do it better, unless the experience for the users is better than it would be if they were offloaded to Zoom, or whatever other platform, we'll probably stick to a very tight integration. I don't know about folks here, but my experience so far has been Zoom is rock solid on my Wi-Fi, and everything else struggles a little bit. So I'm always a bit skeptical of like platforms that try use something else and then, you know, the video quality isn't as good. And so I think until we can kind of get to that bar, I'd say we'll probably we've actually had a few requests for event integration. So smart calendaring, where you could share a link, and then through the chat we would bring you like a user's straight to their calendar where they can add the link. And so that's probably the first step for that type of a use.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have another question, actually. I was just thinking of at the gym I go to, they're trying to do kind of online stuff and like groups. Can you post videos as well? You know, like if you want to show somebody how to do something correctly.
We've held off on videos. Now, but it's kind of, it's on our roadmap of essential chat features.
Yeah, it'd be amazing for physiotherapists or trainers, or just to stay in touch with your clients in between sessions.
Yeah. The reason there is just from the moderation element. I think for a lot of these groups, videos is probably the content that is the most risky when it comes to moderation. So we just want to be very careful around that and make sure that it's the right kind of approach there.
Yeah. Any more questions? No? Well, thank you so much. Sorry, who did I cut over there?
No, just saying it's a good platform. I think it's good opportunity, good idea for the future.
Yeah.
Best of luck with it.
Yeah, so well done, guys. Well, like I said, we'll share the recording. So if any follow-up comes up, we'll stay in touch. If you guys are interested in accessing more knowledge or support, please do join up for Ireland Together, because we have all this wealth of information waiting to have conversations, and creating that little ecosystem that supports anybody entrepreneurial in Ireland is really what we're all about. So thank you so much for your time, and we hopefully will see you again.
Yeah,
Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.